Welcome to No Such Thing as Normal podcast with Natalie Hayes and Jess McKeown.
This is a casual podcast where we talk about all the things that you're not supposed to talk about in order to help you normalize your real life, because really we're all just a bunch of weirdos having a completely human experience in a society that asks us to pretend like we're not.
And I'm your host, Jess, a gifted spirit baby medium who facilitates deep soul healing by channeling divine messages.
I'm your other host, Natalie, and I am a trauma-informed, intuitive mindset and manifestation coach.
Be sure to subscribe where you listen to podcasts, watch our 100% unedited episodes on YouTube, and you can also follow us on IG at No Such Thing as Normal Pod for more weirdo and woo content.
And if you like this episode, please be sure to rate and review so that more people can unleash their weird with you. Ta-da!
Do it. Ta-da!
Ta-da! Guys, we're having a really off day, so just bear with us.
Oh, look, but like we're twinsies again with our little like double strap in the black. Twinsies. I know. I know we don't call each other and be like, what are you gonna wear?
No.
But
this was
we
all
do
intuition.
coordinate.
It's all intuition.
It was. Or for me, what was clean? What was clean?
Yeah.
Which is a good intuitive choice. What is clean?
That's always a good intuitive
I love
choice.
that we're chatting about intuition today.
Yeah.
Because I recently met a woman who was like, you guys should just call it psychic. And I think, that's an interesting, maybe it's like a spectrum.
Yeah.
Right. And intuition is kind of where we start. And then as we open up our intuition, we can get more and more and more into our psychic skills. But I would say intuition is the base for opening up all your clair gifts, all your psychic gifts, all your everything.
I know. I feel like the term psychic comes with like a certain set of expectations, which is why I call myself intuitive and not psychic.
Ooh, what expectations come
like
with being psychic?
Fortune telling the future, and like
crystal balls.
Yeah. One of the biggest lessons, I'm just getting this really good visual of like a turban and like big earrings and a psychic, like a ball. But I think one of the biggest lessons I learned this year is like, don't marry a timeline, which is also why I don't call myself psychic, because like everything is changing so quickly now with timelines shifting. It's like everything is in hyper speed. So like what might be true for you in a moment might not be true for you in the next week. So
yeah. And I would say like being psychic, when I tap into my psychic stuff versus when I tap into my intuition, it's different. It's for sure different.
Yeah.
I think, because I think when I'm tapping in, okay, here's what I'll say. It's like when I'm tapping into my intuition, it's only about me. It's me. It's my intuition. It's what's for me, that kind of stuff. When my guides are like prickling up as I say this. They're like, really? How are you going to describe this, Jessica? But when I do my psychic stuff, I would say it's for me and others. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would say like the intuition, your intuition really is like number one serving you. Maybe sometimes your intuition can roll over to other people. You can get intuitive hits for other people is kind of what they say, but I call those psychic hits. But my intuition, I really feel like, what is it? What's good for me? What's that? And then psychic, I feel like it's all the non-ordinary world and connecting with all the different things. So it's like a bigger, group of people and energies you're connecting with. What do you think?
I think that's an interesting way to put it. I don't know that I've ever thought about it because I really stray away from calling myself psychic. I put everything under the umbrella of intuition, like mediumship, quote unquote, psychic abilities. I feel like it's all like when I think of being psychic or using psychic abilities, I feel like that's when you're tapping into possibility. Versus intuition is just like, it's a knowing, it's a truth, but like being psychic is like, oh, that's a possibility that I'm like sensing or feeling intuiting.
So what is intuition to you?
So I think intuition is like, it's different. It's like, it's your soul telling you things. It's your spirit guides dropping down information and downloads. It's those knowings and those feelings. And I think it's very different from your ego, which your ego is more like a conscious processing system. It's like your ego is your discernment. So if you're using your intuition in an aligned way, it's going to guide your ego discernment. if that makes
I
any
like
sense.
that.
But your
It
ego is really
does.
just like your conscious conditioning and behaviors, and it's really driven by your higher knowings and also your programming, but different levels of awareness. Like your intuition is
That,
like your higher knowing, right? And then your
yeah.
ego is like your conscious knowing, and then you have your subconscious programming kind of steering the bus.
I love it. Okay. So is your intuition free from programming?
I believe so. Actually, that's a really good question. I never
Yeah.
anticipated that question. I really think it is free from programming. It's your reaction to your intuition that is the programming.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Because I feel like your intuition is just source. It's always a truth.
Yeah.
It's always there to guide you and help you. And then our ego and our subconscious program like fuck things up, basically. You know, you're
They
like
can.
walking through and you're like, hey, and then your ego comes in and your subconscious program comes in, and it just kind of can fuck you up. Doesn't
It
have
filters
to.
it. Yeah,
It
it filters
does.
it.
But like we are not here really to live a totally free, just intuitive life, right? Like we have
Right.
programming, we have the ego isn't going anywhere. Our subconscious programming, I mean, we could spend all year, the rest of our lifetime unprogramming things, right? So it's like we have to like work with all of them in the soup.
Yeah. Your different
How do
points of
you
awareness.
know that like it's your intuition versus your ego or your subconscious programming? Does it like your intuition feel a certain way to you?
Yeah, it feels really good. And then I'm also really tuned into my clair. Um,
Mm,
like when I'm reading for other people, I'm clairvoyant.
yeah.
But when
Mm.
my intuitive hits come through for myself, I'm claircognizant. Like I just know.
Yeah.
I just know.
Me too. And I asked my guides that they're like, it's just the quickest. We don't need you to interpret drawings and pictures and sounds and
Are
stuff
your
like
guides
that.
all Aries as well? The most direct.
I should ask them what their signs are, and put them in the pattern
Yeah, but
in that app and be like, you guys, Jesus, when were you born?
when were you born?
At
Time
what
and
time?
place.
Time and place. Oh my God, I should ask them that. I feel like intuition also feels good. And I definitely, when I don't listen to it, it will definitely come back and be like, ha ha, you know, like told
Told
you,
you.
like, and you know, and that's that feeling that I think sometimes like before you're really like in tune with it, you're just like, I knew it. When you say that,
Yes.
oh, I knew it, right? It's like, I knew I didn't listen to myself, right? It's that feeling of like, oh, but I mean, that's, if you can trace back to that knowing, that's an intuitive hit. And that's kind of maybe how it comes very subtly. But yeah, they're just like, here's the info, here's what you need. And I've been using it quite a bit, as I live my life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I feel like it's definitely some people come into this world, I think, more attuned to it, to listen to it, but as a collective, we're so conditioned to not trust ourselves and not trust our natural inclinations, and that really can skew your abilities to tap into it.
Yeah, because you probably like you've probably been told that you're crazy, you're
Yeah.
hearing things, you know, but like there's also these like other layers of like listen to your gut, right? Or like listen to your inner knowing. And as like a lot of these big, you know, things that are happening in our society, people are like, I gotta trust my gut on this, I gotta trust my knowing on this. And people are like, you're crazy. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you know, you don't have this feeling in this sense. And I would say, like with intuitive stuff and psychic stuff, like when you try to go against it or when you try to like not listen to it, it just gets louder and stronger and like because
Yes.
it's trying to help you. And so it, like I always describe it to people as like it feels kind of like your conscience, you know, like when you know you should say something or do something and like you don't, and it's like that feeling of like that pressure of like you got to say something, you got to do something, you got to listen to this. So
Yeah.
it's very visceral for me.
It can be yeah,
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people who feel safe in their bodies and being physically present, there's a lot of conditioning around that too. But it is really like an embodied experience listening to your intuitive hits.
Ooh.
And I will say that a big lesson for people on their intuitive journey, myself included, is that you kind of grow to learn that what is intuitively true for you might not be intuitively true for someone else. So someone else calling you crazy or something is just it might not be the reality for them. It might not be true for them. So like, if you're
Yeah.
still seeking external validation for your intuitive hits, that's why you would be questioning it. Is like,
Yeah.
oh, well, they think I'm crazy, so I must be crazy. You have to
Right.
really kind of grow that trust with yourself and be like, it's okay if this isn't true for you. For me right now, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like, and that's a really good point. It's like I had to have like talking points
Me.
of like things to say to people, like just like that. Like, that's okay if it's not true for you. It is true for me.
Yeah.
And when you say that, I call them like mic drops. It's like, what else can somebody say after that? Like, cause then it's just like, now we're just arguing opinions, or we're arguing like my version versus your version. But I also think that people like have a desperate need for like the truth and what really happens. And I was like, there's multiple truths, you guys. There's multiple truths. And it's what does getting to the truth get you?
Right. Would you rather be right, or would you rather be aligned?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ask you that. And we've all done those. We've gone down the like right, righteous path,
Yeah.
and here we are at the end with like no friends because we were like righteous, versus like the other way where it just allows for more
Yeah. Like
possibilities.
holding space for their possibility as well as your own. And like, I don't
Yeah.
need you to be okay with the possibility of what's true for me. Like, if I'm standing comfortably in my truth, you won't even question it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it makes relationships, fun, challenging, fun.
It can be. There's lots of opportunities there.
And Natalie always is like corrects my like all or nothing. Have you taken her quizzes on her Instagram?
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love them.
The limiting beliefs quizzes.
I'm also like, what? No, I disagree. And I'm happy when I get them right. I think that's really fun. Why do you do that? Is that like a fun way for people to kind of get in touch with things?
Yeah, I just think it's a really interesting way to help people become aware of like the limiting conditioning they're absorbing and like the limiting stuff that is quote unquote normal for them to create their reality with. I want them to start questioning it, which is why I like live in a more expansive way rather than a more limiting way.
Yeah, it can be.
It can be if you want it to be.
If you want it to be. Well, Natalie, how did you become aware of like your gifts, your intuition? Do I know this story?
I don't know. Somebody actually DM'd me asking me this, like, how did you become intuitive? And I was like, oh, shit, I don't know. I think it's always been there. I just like wasn't aware of it. Yeah, I like went through a spiritual awakening during my Saturn return at 27, which if you don't know, Saturn is the planet of like the great teacher. It's like your karma. It comes around every 30-ish years to the same place it was when you were born in your astrology chart. So like, that's why people say they're having a quarter life crisis around like 27 to 32. And then if you don't listen, you get a midlife crisis around 60. That's why
the universe
those things
is
happen.
so planned.
Yeah. So around like 27, I really started obviously questioning everything. And then we moved into this haunted house, and I actually started working with an intuitive to like clear the house. And I was like, oh, well, you cleared a ghost from my house. Can you help me clear my ghosts like inside me? So we started working together, and she was just able to energetically sense like the things that I couldn't say but knew were true about me. And it was just more work, like truth confirming, to work with an intuitive for me. It like really helped me build trust in my own knowing and be like, oh, like I do. Okay, I am intuitive, I guess. And then Jenna, the summer that we got together, which is a really fun story that we'll tell some other time.
Yeah.
I met a medium at a bar. And it was the first medium I'd ever met. And I stayed out till like 5 a.m. talking to this medium. And she was like, you're going to get divorced. Like 2 weeks later.
Whoa.
I already knew it, but that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
I already knew. She was just
Yeah.
saying things I already knew. So I think everybody's intuitive. And I just gradually became aware of my gifts. And I was honestly just like, this shit is so cool. So I kept like looking into it and like, oh, Oracle card decks. Oh, that's witchy. That sounds fun. And then I grew up in the church, so of course I hate rules. Got kicked out of that religious preschool.
For kicking the nun.
I know. So I'm like, oh, this feels like dangerous and witchy. So yeah, I'm going to go into that. I'm going to look into that. So then I started down this rabbit hole of like cards and working with crystals and magic and spells and blah, 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 and then the Akashic records, and here we are today.
It's just like it is like a domino effect though, right? And
Yeah.
spirit always refers to it as like momentum, right? And when people have to like get from A to B, they're like, oh, it's so far. I'm like, once you start A, it goes faster and you're going to get to be way faster than you think, but you have to do A first. You have to get the engines going.
Yeah. How did you become aware of your gifts? I'm actually really curious.
I mean, I was always a weird kid.
Yeah, same.
So, I mean, I probably used a shit ton of magic and manifestation to find friends and like-minded people without knowing it. But I would always just like talk to things. I would always just like have conversations with things. I was an only child. I didn't have siblings or anything. And I would just go out there and I guess I saw things and talked to things and had these whole worlds. And, you know, I just got called imaginative, or I have what do they call it?
You have a vivid imagination.
Vivid imagination. I had imaginary friends and I was like all that kind of stuff. So I think just always like just young. And then, you know, my mom this is my, like how shattered this is, but this is my medicine card stack. So my mom would read cards and, you know, she kind of does like a smorgasbord. She reads cards, she reads like the daily word, which is like, you know, like little Bible things and then like little explanations. And she kind of like, you know, tastes the rainbow. She has little Buddhism stuff, you know, just whatever she feels like doing to like make her feel good. Right. And use those things. So I've always been around it, but I would say like, and even then like reading cards, stuff like that, I was like, oh, this is good guidance. This feels good, you know, like, and then it started to kind of like just have, did it, I was like, whoa, like the phrase in the book is the exact phrase that I just heard, or the exact, you know, it got more exact, more precise, more like creepy is what I want to say. Like, oh, not just like, oh, this is a nice little thing to read about and, you know, an antelope or something. It was like, oh, this is exactly where I am in my life. And then I kind of was like, how do they know this? You know, you're like looking around, you're not realizing that it's like coming from within you. And then when I kind of made that bridge, and I was like, oh, this is the inside of me expressed out so that I can see it in a different way and then work with that energy and take it back within. But I would say true gifts was when I took my shamanism class and I did that journey, and it was a cracking open. I would just want to put a warning symbol for some of you. What is it? What's my new phrase? It could be that if you take like a shamanism class or any kind of deeper training, yoga teacher, whatever, like be prepared to be cracked open.
Yeah.
It could happen. It could not, but it did for me. And I mean, when I say crack open, like, oh, it was kind of scary, and it was just, it was unstable, destabilizing, unstable. I felt very unstable. I lost a lot of friends. I found some new friends. I had to change relationships with friends. So it was pretty scary, but coming out of that, it just kind of like, I just started channeling more. I'd always heard things. I'd always got these little drops of knowing and stuff like that. I'd always had that. But then when I was doing it for other people, it came a lot more and a lot faster because I was always here to serve, right, in that capacity. So then it came more and more and more in that way. That's how I would say it. But
when did you start to view them as gifts?
Oh God. Oh my God. I have this, my friend Jenny, she's a yoga and a life coach. And she was like just starting her business. And she's like, hey, can I do like a prep test coaching thing on you? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she tried to get me to admit my gifts. And I was fighting her tooth and nail, because then I was like, well, they're gifts. And then I have to fucking share them. And then I have to do something with them. And I don't want to. And I was so resistant. And she was so kind to me. And she just kept holding space for me. And then several times I've gone back to her and be like, remember that conversation we had where I couldn't admit that they were gifts? Like, it was really hard because, you know, when you realize it, like, how do I say this? Like, when you can so easily tap into the other realms, people are like, hey, Jess, you know, and I would have friends invite me out for lunch and I'd be like, oh, and they're like, so Jess, about this thing, if you could just tap in real quick. And I was like, what? Whoa. Again, no boundaries, right? I didn't know that I was calling this experience in, but it was like really scary and really, you know, like, I think one of the biggest things I said was, I don't want to be a party trick.
Yeah.
right? I don't want to have to be like da 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 with
The
my crystal.
expectation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
that was kind of like a no-go for me. But eventually, as I started to see how my gifts helped people,
Mhm.
like truly either like get pregnant or get over a loss, or find some internal insight within their self, I was like, oh, this is so good. And then every time I channel, it's healing and energizing for me. So I really love doing it.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you like get benefits when you channel for people? Do you feel like more energized or?
I really do. I enjoy channeling for other people. And I'm in this really interesting space where like I have this tool, Psyche, that I mean, it works, it's magic, but like my business isn't my tool. So like I'm slowly starting to have more sessions in like the records, and like I'm actually intuiting things more and becoming way more comfortable with those kind of sessions rather than just like, okay, what do you want to fix? Let's fix it. Like, you know,
Oh, so you said way more comfortable. What was uncomfortable about it?
I think it was just a gradual like trusting, and because
Mm,
like I trust my knowing for myself, but like trusting that knowing about what's coming through for someone else and then relaying that message. Like I invested so much of my personal worth in the messages I was delivering. And so like getting so caught up,
mm,
like, what if this doesn't come true for them? Oh my God, what does that mean for me? Does that mean I'm, a fraud? I'm a
yeah.
witch.
A witch, a witch.
Yeah. I'm a snake oil salesman if it doesn't
Oh
come true.
God.
Like those
Oh, I
thoughts came
do.
up a lot when I first launched my business. It was very tool forward. And then slowly I started to like hear things in my head before someone said them. Or I would do this thing where I would pull a card before a session,
Yeah.
and I'd be like tune into their energy and like pull a card and then set it aside.
Hmm.
And like if we talked about this card or something, I would bring it up. But
Yeah.
if we didn't, I would just reflect on the card afterward. And that also really helped. Like, no, they brought this up. Like, that is confirming you were actually getting these intuitive hits, whether or not they're ready to receive it, whether or not it's their conscious reality. Like, it was just really truth confirming for that practice for me to be able to be like, oh, yeah, I am actually, I'm intuitive.
Yes, I definitely went through the like I'm a snake oil. And especially with me
Yeah.
working with babies, I mean some of the articles and blog posts I read deep late at night at 3 a.m. crying to myself about this gifts and what do I do with it was like, oh, you're taking advantage of them at this
Yeah.
time and this and that. And but then I've always had people like whenever they find my site or whatever, they're just like, I just felt like called to like work with you.
Same.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
great. And so I just only call in the people that this like what my guides are kind of saying to me is like what it works for. It doesn't work
Mhm.
for everyone, this approach to life or get this access to the information, but if it does, then come this way and come receive. And yeah, I actually had a guy on Facebook message me about like the validity of mediums, and he was like, didn't Harry Houdini say that they were like false and fake? And I was just like, what do I do with this? And it
Yeah.
happened so much when I first started. I got so many of these pings of like, what if it's not true? What if you're this? What if you're that? And random people, right? These like Facebook Messenger things, right? So like not my friends or people I know. And then I researched Harry Houdini, and get this, he died. He went he told his wife, he goes, if mediumship is true, when I die, go to this medium and will contact me and then we'll know. Well, sure as shit, it worked. He died. His wife went to this medium. He came through, but he was a big skeptic of all of that, right? He was
Yeah.
he's a big sort of like, there was that whole like revolution in his time. And, it kind of, all those calling and all those experiences helped me go, well, you know what? Like I'm not always 100% right. And I think that's maybe the hard part as like a medium and doing intuitive work for other people. Like it's an interpretive,
Yeah.
like it's not always 100% clear. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is like, whew, this is it. But a lot of the times, because there's so many other factors at play, it's a generalness. It's a guidance. It's an advice. It's a message, but it's not like this is what you want. And I think some people come to mediums or psychics and be like, tell me what to do,
Oh,
you
I
know?
know. Yeah, I get that. And I
Yeah.
think it's also that everybody is their own filter. Like I have my own experiences, I have my own sensory downloads that are like coloring these messages coming through. And so as a practitioner, an intuitive, a psychic, a medium, you just have to kind of trust that the people who are attracted to work with you like need to hear these things through your filter. Like someone else might
Yes.
give them a different message, but like they're coming to you, they're attracted to you because they need to receive it in the way that you can deliver it.
And sometimes you're going to deliver a message that they're not going to be happy with, but you need to deliver that message.
Exactly.
And they're not going to be your client again, and you're never going to see them again. And I've had a couple of those. My guys are like, they just needed to hear that. It's like a little, like in, what is that? Like ping pong or, at the arcade machine, just like you just hit the ball and like, boop, you know, off to ding, 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 ding. Pinball machine. You're just like a little like paddle in the pinball machine, like taking them off their path, or, you know, and even I find that with the babies too, like, especially with like the sex of a baby, like sometimes they'll come through as a boy or as a girl or as a they, to bring up those issues. Right. And get, you know, people, because people are so fixated on, you know, having a boy or having
Gender.
a girl or whatever. Yeah. So into it. So they'll show up in certain forms to let the person like receive the message better, but then they have a boy.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking to this baby girl, and then it's a boy. You know?
Yeah. I know. We attach so much to gender. It's crumbling. It's crumbling.
It's
Don't worry, babies. Okay. So let me ask you.
Yeah.
What is the coolest thing or things that you have ever intuited for yourself and for someone else? Like if you can think of something.
Yeah. The first thing I think of right away for somebody else is I had 2 clients and both were looking for love. And I've been working with one client for a long time and, you know, felt like this is like a really, like, we're getting close to this person finding somebody. And this other client came in and was working with them. And then when I finished the session, the intuition was like, you need to hook up your one client A with client B. And I was like, oh, like somebody like client B, because like client B was like this awesome energy. And I was like, oh, you know, they would be a good match, but you know, they're like, and I was like, but they do live in the same city. And oh, I'm getting lots of chills now.
Oh my God.
And then they're like, no, like client A and client B, not somebody like client B, client B. And I was like, and then I was like, ignored it. Right. Yeah. So I was like, that's what? No.
Yeah. Confidentiality.
Let me see why I ignored it. I honestly didn't believe that like, it was that true of a connection to like that something. So, okay. Here's what I'll say why I didn't believe it. Because it was so definite. They're like, no, this. Usually my messages are like, whatever, maybe. You know, this was like,
it could be,
it could be, but it was like, no, these 2. And so then all I saw was client B's like posts and Instagram and and they emailed me and they kept coming into my sphere, like all of a sudden, like a flood. And I was like, okay. So it was like middle school. And I was like, client B, do you want me to email client A and be like, hey, can we get your number and can we get a photo? And then client, you know, I did the little like, you know, back and forth. And they both said yes. They both said, yeah, we'd be interested in like, you know, at least connecting us. And I was like, that's so cool. They have been dating now for 9 to 10 months. They want me to marry them.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
And, you know, and we've done a couple of sessions with them to work through, you know, the couple stuff. And because I love to do couple sessions because like, it's like therapy with source.
Yeah, it is.
We just like cut through all the bullshit, but we just like, it's just so wonderful to hear them be like happy and thriving. And then I kind of got this attachment of like, well, now they have to stay together and get married and whatever. And then I realized relationships teach you all kinds of things. They can last years, months, weeks, days. But that was like so cool that I followed that and listened to that. And like they have like a karmic past together and they're like, oh, I have such chills on this. So that's been like, I would say like the coolest thing for somebody else. And then for me, I don't know that I have anything like so profound, like this one thing. I think a lot of my gifts started for others. I probably like, we're kind of almost like the opposite. Like you started really strong with your own internal and now we're doing more external. I started really strong external and like working more into the internal, but like, I just get little hits throughout the day. I get little like guidance and little pings and things like that, that just make me like feel good and feel like I'm in alignment and feel this knowing. But I think a lot of my examples I think of are me still reaching out to other people, just kind of knowing like somebody needs a text right now, or somebody needs a call right now, or somebody needs a this or whatever. And that actually makes me feel good being able to like know that and reach out to people. I'll have to think on that.
Yeah, you think about it.
What about you?
We can circle back.
I'm like so excited.
What's the coolest thing that I've ever intuited? There's been a couple things, and I've really intuited stuff, like you said, like externally, more so in the past couple of years since being in this service-based business and being a practitioner for someone else. What are you looking at?
What's on your chin?
Oh, I don't know. Where did that come from? That's funny. Oh, it's ash from my candle. That's fine.
This is why you have to watch the YouTube episodes, people, because I'm just like, what is going on?
Really cute mark on my chin. It's gone. We fixed it. This candle's like pop ash every so often.
Oh, it's one of those sparkly ones. Yeah.
I didn't know that when I purchased it.
We'll have to watch the replay and be like, when did it jump onto your face? Anyway, back to intuition.
Anyway, since doing this like service-based business and doing one-on-one sessions with other people, it's really come through a lot, which is I prefer to work with people over a longer period of time than just a one-off session, because I get to know their energy and I can get like that feedback and we can build that relationship. Like, oh, this shifted in you, so this is going to shift in you, like course correct as we go. But over the summer, like earlier this year, I intuited for a client, like, I don't know why, but I just kept seeing like a firefighter in their future. And this person was not currently in a relationship. And I just kept like feeling, I was like, I don't know why. I'm just going to say it. Like at this point in my career, I'm just going to fucking say it. If it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Yeah. But I can't not say it. So I put it out there and I was like, I just really feel a firefighter around you. I don't know when, if it's even going to come true, whatever. This is just what I'm getting. And I kept getting it repeatedly. And then I had a session with them recently and they were like, so I met a firefighter. Like, I about shit myself. Yeah.
And you're like trying to like remain totally calm. It's so cool though. The validation calm. Is so cool. Yeah.
It's just so cool. And then like way earlier this year, I was like in the records for somebody and they were asking something about their guides. Like, what do their guides want to give them? And I just saw this like ET being stepped forward with like a bouquet of flowers. And I was like, oh, he's like, I'm seeing them step forward with a bouquet of flowers. And then the client slowly turned their computer and they were like, my friend gave me this bouquet of flowers today. And I was like, okay, to like message delivered. Here it is. Like, that's the coolest truth confirmation ever. So I think those are a couple cool things I've intuited for other people, but for myself, my first marriage, it was a karmic contract. Like this, I knew it. I knew this relationship. Like I always said when people ask, like, how did your relationship like start? How did y'all meet? And I was like, well, it was a one night stand. And then like, he just didn't stop calling. Like it was supposed to be a one night stand. And then just did not stop calling. And I allowed that to keep happening. So like 2 weeks after we met / slept together, I had this like knowing. I was like out shopping with my mom and I was like, I'm going to have a ring by Christmas. And it's just going to be a decision that I have to make. Like, do I continue down this path or do I not? Like, but I'm going to have a ring by Christmas. And like the weekend before Christmas, he proposed like 5 months later.
My guides are asking me, did you ever think to go deeper into the questioning of your intuition at that time?
No, it felt like such a truth. Like, no, this is just something I have to go through. This is what's going to happen. Like I had no doubts about it. And then it came through.
Well, and I think like that's a fair thing to say is like, you might get intuitions about being in a relationship with somebody. It might turn out awful, but you needed to do that to complete that contract, learn that lesson. So like, don't be all mad at your intuition when it puts you in a bad situation at times, because it's putting you there to like learn some stuff or clear some stuff or complete some stuff. But we always think it's going to be like happy. And it could be. It could be. But sometimes life has some lessons to learn. And I think I remember reading like humans learn through struggle and challenges better, which I was like, that's dumb. We should change
conditioning. Yeah. That's stupid.
On Natalie's quiz, that would be a no. That would stupid. Be limiting beliefs. Tap. It's interesting that we both talked about relationships, and what I'm thinking of, probably my most profound moment was when I met my husband. Yeah. And he opened the door. We were like at a party. our anniversary is tomorrow. We're recording on
Tomorrow.
September 5th, and our anniversary is 12 years
Mhm.
together. 12 years married, 19 years together.
Oh my gosh.
A long time. And he opened the door and I was like, ooh, he was like really cute, tall, blue eyes. And I immediately heard, this is the man you're going to marry.
I
Immediately.
have chills.
And I was just like, and I literally went like, who said
said
that? You know? And I was like 22, not thinking about marriage, not thinking about any of that stuff. And I was like, okay, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
But then we kind of had a long 3-day date, right? Because we had the whole Labor Day weekend. And so we spent every single day together. And we were just in San Francisco and we went by the restaurant that we had our first date at, and it's been like 4 different restaurants. It was Thai when we met. And then we went back when anniversary, and it was Ethiopian. So we had Ethiopian food, and now it's like something else. So everything changes, but that was a big intuitive hit.
It comes through like that for like contracts. I feel like,
yeah.
I know that we've talked about this before, but there's like checkpoints in your life that like you're not gonna miss. So like I feel like your intuition comes through really loud at those checkpoints.
Like in Mario Kart.
Like in Mario, when you're going through the checkered flag.
Ding, ding, ding.
In my case, last always, but I get there.
In my case, backwards, throwing Kumba shells because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Just spinning. Some people go through life spinning on their track to meet their checkpoints, and that's okay. You're still gonna meet it.
Oh, you'll get a banana peel and it'll slide you in.
Have to come and pick you up and take you there.
I want to play that game so bad right now. Oh, Mario.
Oh, I had that knowing too with Jenna. Like if I passed this up, I couldn't. It was a non-possibility for me to pass up like pursuing a relationship with her, you know. And like I was still married when we met. Like we'll talk about it more in the relationships episode, but like I was still married, but my marriage was falling apart. And we like double dated with our exes, and then we couldn't double date anymore because we had too much fun together. So like all of these little things, but yeah, I definitely had this like strong knowing that like, no, this is it. Like, this is my person.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, 12/19 years later, I still feel that. So
same.
Not that we haven't been through a whole bunch of stuff, but you know, we keep swimming through it, coming out, you know. We have this thing called Team McKeown. That's our last name. And like whenever we like do something, like after we were just driving in this car, almost like knocked us off the road, and we like survived it. And we're like, oh, okay. And then we go, okay, Team McKeown, or like we do something really fast or whatever. Like, and it's just like this little thing that we have that it's like, we can do anything together, you know, and we have to kind of like remember that you're on each other's team and you're supporting each other. And like, it's more sometimes like we use it a lot when it's like one person like really steps up or really like helps out the other person. Cause like we're a team and like, you know, and it's like, okay, Team McKeown, we're going to like step up and do this, because sometimes you just can't do everything, you know?
No, that's why partnerships exist, you know?
Oh, thank God for partnerships.
Thank God for partnerships. Okay. I have another question for you. Okay. How has like using your intuition and your gifts or tapping into it or like making it a priority in your life, how has it made your life better?
It's completely changed my life. It is my life. What I had before was a scaffolding of a life. A shell of a life, a hollowness. It was following somebody else's rules and visions for me. And when I tap into my gifts and I work with my guides, like it's amazing. It's like you have it's like a council, you have your best friends, and mine chime in whether I want them to or not at times, but they're just so fun. They're so lovely. You know, I can just talk to them. I can just like throw up a question, and I don't have to do a lot of like pomp and circumstance anymore. I thought I had to do that to like connect with them, you know, but you don't. It's nice. It's more for you to get you in the space to connect. But if you know how to connect, it's like having your BFFs there, like watching out for you at all times. It makes life like more colorful, more vibrant, more interesting, more fascinating. Like, what else is there to learn and to know about and to talk to, you know? I'm like, who else can I channel? Who else is up there that wants to talk? You know, like it's so fun and just invigorating. And I don't know. I really like, especially when you use it and it works, you use it and it works. You're like, oh, like this is so helpful. Like it takes a lot of like the efforting out. Like it puts me more my divine, feminine, receptive side, which I'm often not in. I'm very masculine a lot of times. So I have to like come back into that to do certain things. And that's been really helpful. I know it's just totally changed my life. I would not go back to not knowing this, even though to get here was kind of hellish for me. I would not go back. Yeah. What about you?
Same. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything has changed since I started like paying attention to it and listening to it and making space for it. And for me, like I have a lot of planets in my 7th house. So like relationships, one-on-one relationships, my marriages, affect my life a lot, you know? So like being in this homosexual marriage, has like, it just created a lot of space for me to explore that feminine side of myself. It was like more acceptable or whatever. There was just space for it. So like being married to Jenna really opened a lot of these intuitive channels for me. Cause like she's intuitive, she's open to it.
Yeah.
Where like, I feel like men, straight, cis, hetero men are so closed off.
Men.
No, I'm not. Whatever. They're fine.
They're fine.
But I feel like they're so closed off to those channels. So like it doesn't, I lean on my partners a lot, you know, like partnership means a lot to me in this life. So having somebody where this is such an open and flowing conversation has really allowed me to step more fully into like, well, maybe it is magic. Like maybe,
that's awesome.
Maybe this life is magic. So it's changed everything.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when I look back in my life, it feels dark. It feels like it feels like darkness to me. And then like when I started really leaning into like these connections and like, oh, we are energetic beings and all of this like manifestation and cards and crystals and the records and blah, like so much lightness came into my life, so much fulfillment came into my life, you know, like an unintuitive life, I believe is a choice. Maybe not a conscious one, but a lot of generations prior to us, like it wasn't acceptable for them to explore those different possibilities of life for themselves. You know, there was like a blueprint and they had to follow the blueprint. And then, you know, us snowflakes came along and like fucking ruined everything.
Or made it all better.
Our participation trophies just turned the world to shit.
But I mean, I think like I've been able to like start my own business, right? I don't have to like work in corporate anymore, and just the intuitiveness and the trust with my guides and source and the whole process of releasing my doubt, getting to this point. I mean, it's allowed me to be who I am, you know, it's allowed me to touch into like, and who I want to be. And like, I can, like, to your point, if I look back, I was still serving people, but just in a different way and from a different place, you know, and now I'm serving in a much more healthy place for me. Right. Like I was a people pleaser. And if you're a people pleaser, like you're probably a servant, in terms of like serving the world, probably just a little off alignment, right? Because you can never please other people. But if you come into that internal knowing of your deep service to want to help people, and you can probably feel them empathically, then you can turn that into an energy that is supportive of you versus draining of you. Because it would totally drain me, you know, like I just gave everything away to other people. Cause I was like, I know I need to help people. Here's all my energy. Here you go.
I'm going to do it.
And then I learned, you know, like, oh no, I actually have to like keep it internal and then let it come out in a different way. So it's just, I think too, I've also met a lot of like really cool people like you, doing this. And I also think I've definitely like rubbed off on my husband, because he'll be like, well, the energy was, and I'm like, oh, did you just say that? Like that this is hot and sexy right now. And like I know that my karmic path with him is to help him step onto his pathway. And so I have to be patient, because I just want to be like, come on over. It's so much fun. But you know, it's like jumping into a cold pool of water. So I just have to be like 1 foot at a time, put in your toes, you know, sit on the edge, and then come on in. So the water's fine.
Yeah, I love that. I think it just like being intuitively tapped in, it gives you such a higher perspective of things. And from like a trauma standpoint, like life is traumatic. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's traumatic. There's lots of things that you do and see, and like humans are so fragile.
It's true.
I
My
feel
guy,
like being tapped into like your higher knowing gives you a higher perspective. So like your natural inclination isn't to go into fight or flight when trauma happens. Instead, like you're able to tap in and see things from a higher perspective. Like, how is this happening for me? How is this a part of my path? What is this teaching me? Instead of like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? You know?
Yeah. Did you notice the tone change?
Did you notice?
Because sometimes it is like, oh my God. And then
Panic.
it's like, oh, I get it. And then my guides are just kind of saying like, you need to tell them about like the practical things, like parking spaces.
Oh,
Dude, I get the
spaces.
best parking spaces ever. And you have to believe it. You have to know it. You have to call it in and manifest it. But like, I will ask my guides, St. Anthony, he's the guide for parking. I tell you this right now. If you go around and I say, St. Anthony, I need the perfect parking spot right in front of my thing, right, no joke. Cars will like pull out. And I'm just like, thank you, you know? And I would say like 9 out of 10 times.
It's so fun to go through life this way. Like, why wouldn't you want to go through life this way? Feeling like you're magic, feeling like you're creating instead of succumbing, you know, like.
Well, and like from the parking spaces to the big life lessons, like the more that you're in with your intuition, you're just more tapped into life. Like to your point, exactly. Like you become the creatrix, you become the magician in the tarot, you know, what you really become empowered with your life of like, what do I want to do? And I think what's hard and scary for people is once they get all that magic, they're like, well, fuck, what do I want to do? And that's where you have to like decondition and really think about things, because you don't want to have all this great intuitive power and then just go down the same pathway again.
It's not going to feel good.
It's not going to feel good. Yeah. So it's like, also think about like, what else do you want to do with your life? Because what happens is once all that bullshit is cleared away, you'd have this blank canvas, which can be scary sometimes or intimidating. It could be,
I think it could be. I think it could be crippling. I was actually having this conversation with a client this week. Like I've been through that process where you like step out of your matrix norms, right? And you start going down this intuitive rabbit hole, dabbling in crystals, dabbling in tarot. Maybe you do some peyote or something, like, and you have a spiritual experience. And then you go back to your 9 to 5 and like, it doesn't feel good. And it's like this grief comes with grieving who you used to be. And like, oh, this doesn't fit anymore. Like I've experienced this expansion outside of these societal boxes. Like now I don't fit back in there. And then it does come with this like grieving period, like who you used to be and who am I now? What does that mean? What do I want? It's like an existential crisis.
It is.
It really is. When you start to like tap into your gifts and really prioritize your intuition, you can go through this, but at the end of the day, like it is so freeing, so freeing.
Yeah. And you realize too, like, oh, I thought that stuff would make me happy. I thought that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I did all the things right. Right. And then you're like, oh, this fucking sucks. And so like, now I'm like, I want to have calm and peace. These are my desires. You know, I want to be able to like spend time in nature. Like they're so simple and so basic. And, you know, if I was to show this to somebody, they'd be like, oh, but don't you want to make more money? And don't you want to have 10 houses? And I was just like, no, I don't, you know, and then I think like, should I, am I rejecting money? You know, am I rejecting abundance? And it's like, if I had a bunch of abundance, I still wouldn't buy 10 houses, you know?
Right. You're able to like go back to what it is that you really want. And a lot of people, I think those external objects are just placeholders for feelings. You know, like it's not really the thing you want, it's what it's going to give you.
Yeah.
So, like,
which is how you get it.
That's how you get it. That is how you get it.
You feel rich. You feel like you're driving that sports car and then you get it.
The manifestation tip of the day. You have to feel the feeling.
You do. And if you're not in touch with your feelings, that could take a while, right? That could take that layer, because I didn't have any, like I went to therapy and she's like, so that's not a feeling, Jessica. And I was like, fuck you. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sad. I'm sad. And she's like, more. And I was like, I don't know. I'm happy. You know, like I didn't have words. And speaking of my friend Jenny, way back in the beginning of this episode, she gave me a book of feelings. And it was like, you know, it was like all like a whole list of like different types of feelings, because there are nuances between anger and frustration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sadness and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a whole experience for me to get to this point of feeling comfortable with my intuition and feeling comfortable with the messages and realizing like how it can work for me. You know, it wasn't always like that.
And it kind of feels like, yeah, like you're going through this kind of blind because you really don't know what's next, because there are no real expanders for this sort of intuitive journey anyway, which I think is like also what you and I kind of serve for other people, is like going first and being like, well, this is kind of what you could expect. It could be.
I know, I'm such an Aries. I'm like, I'll
go say.
But it's also like our friendship and like having friends and people and community that you can like practice with or talk with or not feel weird about when you're like, so this alien came and slit my body open and this black stuff came out. And they're like, really cool, you know?
Right.
And they don't just be like wide-eyed saucer eyes, like, okay, Jessica, like they ask questions and that kind of stuff. So I think it's important also to have like a group or some people around when you're exploring this, because a lot of stuff comes up, you know, that you can normalize.
You can bounce off other people. Yeah.
With other people and be like, yeah, that's normal for you, you know, and it's okay that that's happening. And that's the thing. It's like, you don't really know what's going to come up in this journey, but it needs to come up. It's gonna.
It's gonna. I know. And nobody really knows what's coming. So don't listen to anybody who tells you they
Not
do.
even psychics.
Nope. It could. It's just a possibility.
Exactly. Are you going to help people get better at this, Natalie?
I'm going to help people get better at this, Jess.
Have you guys, I love following Natalie because she's such a tease on Instagram. She's always like, I'll give you the results tomorrow. Or I'm launching a course, but you can't have it yet. Why do you tease people?
It just builds excitement. It's just like, oh, well, I want to know more.
Tell me more. What have you been creating over in your little cauldron?
Okay. In my cauldron. Also, I love that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 for it. It's like 1234.
Those are my numbers.
I love it. I love that. They're like, okay, step by step. So, this course I created is called Intuition Unblocked. And I'm going to be talking about it. Let's see, we're recording on Sunday. This episode will come out tomorrow. So there'll be a live on my Instagram that you can go back and watch, where I'm going to talk like all about it. But it's basically this course that has 2 enrollment options, either DIY or VIP. The DIY will take you through like meeting your spirit guides, working with their energy, how to work with them. It's so fun. I teach you how to muscle test. And then I also teach you how to identify your clair, like how you best receive information through your senses. Could be all of them, could be one of them. We don't know, but you'll find out. I teach you how to work with intuitive tools like crystals and cards, even if you don't have any. I do go into that as well. You don't need to buy any for the course. I teach you like other ways to use things in your life. Same. In a way that like, I get this a lot. My clients are like, well, I've been told so-and-so said you can use it too much, or be careful. You can't like rely on your crystals or your cards too much. And I just think that's horseshit. Like there is a way to use tools. They exist for a reason. There's a way to use them in a way that supports your own knowing rather than replaces it.
Ooh, snap. I like that.
I teach people how to use tools like crystals, like oracle and tarot cards in a way that grows and strengthens their knowing rather than have like relying on it so heavily. And then I also teach you my secret trick for getting like 100% crystal clear messages like every single time. And I'm not exaggerating, like every single time you will get a clear message. And I teach you how I do that.
No snake oil.
No snake oil. It's real.
It's real.
And then in the last module, I teach you how to open your Akashic records, who you can expect to meet there. We kind of go through a couple of attunements to the frequency of the records so that you're better able to receive the frequency of them. I guide you.
Who can you expect to meet there? What does that mean?
Like everybody has a different team, right? Sometimes I go up and I'm like meeting with a council. Sometimes I go up and I'm meeting with my guides. Like, it's just like you go up and you see who's there for you. It's not always like a specific set of people. You know,
it's like, who's your guide today?
Yeah, it's different for everybody. So I tell you what to expect and who you can meet up there. I offer up some different ways that you can enter them and close them, because there's more than one way, you know, that
to get into the records.
Rules. I also talk a lot about that, like fuck the rules.
I'm so big on that too. I know.
huge on it. Like rules are so limiting. So I teach you a couple ways. You get to decide what feels good for you. And then how to navigate the records, how to craft like the questions that are going to give you the best mileage in the records. So
I want to do this. I don't know
that's
anything
module
about the
6.
records.
Oh, it's really fun. There's so
I mean, I knew, but I like have never like done anything to learn how to access them or
yeah.
go see who's going to show up for me. Like, who's here?
Surprise, it's Metatron.
A little dance party. I'll bring them snacks.
Yeah. So that's the DIY option. You get all of that, modules 1 through 6. Then there's the VIP option where you get module 7. You get all of modules 1 through 6 plus module 7, where I teach you, if you want to read for other people, there's a way that you can do it that deepens your own connection with your intuition, instead of just like coming from a place of like outwardly pushing out your intuitive gifts. I feel like it's a way that confirms your own knowing through reading for someone else, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I just
so you could take it even if you didn't want to read for somebody else, just to get that
right, just to get the practice.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really good for empaths or people who feel like they don't have really great boundaries, because it teaches you how to know when you're experiencing somebody else's energy.
Ooh, that's so good. Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh.
And I help you set up space to like call in protection and all of that beforehand and closing it down afterwards. So if you want to, VIP options there. If you want to read for other people, even if you plan on monetizing it or not, but why not monetize your gifts? If you can get paid for doing something that comes naturally to you, I'm like, all fucking for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You also get access with the VIP option to intuitive practice sessions that I hold once a month. And it's basically like small group coaching, just so you can like build community and gain confidence with your gifts and skills in like a really supportive environment and a small container. I keep them really small so that it's more intimate that way.
I love that. So you have like a little playground to practice with and feel safe about. That's how I started. All my friends were my first clients. All my friends. I was just like, okay, I need to read for you. I need to ask you questions, because I knew that they would tell me if it was bullshit.
Right.
And then I also knew that their reaction, if it was real, would be like real. You know, they wouldn't just like blow smoke up my ass. So I did that for a lot of friends, and I still do, you know, stuff for friends when I'm trying something new out, you know, or experiencing something new. It's like my safety net of people who want to like learn and grow, and, you know, I can like try this out. How does this feel? You know?
And I feel like a lot of people stepping onto their intuitive path, like I know I didn't have many people that I could share that side of me with, or like test out my gifts with, or like we'll do magic with. So like, that's why I like these little sessions, because like it's always on like a Saturday morning. We sit, we have our tea, our coffee, and we do witch shit. And it's great. And it's so fun. It's so fun. And inevitably we always talk about aliens. I don't know why.
Can I come? I mean, just because I'm already intuitive. So what if you already like are intuitive and maybe you already have a business? Like, how could this help me or others who are already doing this?
So each module also comes with subconscious shifting and unblocking. Like it's removing the common energy blocks that could be stopping you from meeting your guides, receiving messages clearly, trusting your muscle testing. Like the shifts are catered to each module as you go through them. And then each module is only like, it's less than 20 minutes. I didn't want to take up your whole life, because like you have a life, and it's not like, why would I
want you to get out there and be intuitive?
I don't want to like beat something to death that could be said very simply in one sentence. So the way that I teach is very direct and very simple. And then I give you like actionable steps to implement the shifts that you're making with each module in your daily life, so that you like, it also starts to create some accountability for yourself, so you can practice and like step in and be intentional with your connection.
Yeah, because there's a lot of containers and a lot of programs and a lot of people are teaching this, but it's really about how you specifically teach and your access and your understanding of things and like your style. And then, you know, for the students, it's really about them committing to it. You know, it's like you actually have to do the practices. And I have people that are like, well, like, I didn't do the meditations. I'm like, so you need to do the meditations, you know, and you need to do the journal prompts. Like, you know, we didn't just make these pretty PDFs for nothing. It's like, that is the thing. And I think creating those little containers, even of just the community, for me, that's helpful to like do that kind of work. You know, it's hard for me sometimes to just like do a journal prompt on my own alone. You know, I like a community.
I feel like it gives people like the action steps at the end of each module, like give people direction. Like, okay, you've told me all of this. Now what do I do with it?
Yeah.
Like, we'll try this out for a week, see how this goes,
Yeah.
come back, reflect. Like, I feel like a lot of people are just lost. Like, it took me so long
Mm,
to get to this intuitive place. And like, I want to cut all that bullshit out
yeah.
for other people. Like, I did tarot card courses. I
Yeah.
memorized the meanings of the cards. Who wants to do that? I've spent like $4,000 on intuitive courses and whatever, and shaman school. And when like all of it could have been taught in this very like condensed way without all the bullshit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I wanted to create this. It's like, if you're on a spiritual awakening, you're like, okay, well, fuck, what do I do now? Here's
Yeah.
what you do. Like,
Yeah.
these are your tools. Here's how to work with your guides. Here's how to work with tools. Here's how to trust your knowing. And like, here's some unblocking in the mix. Let's make it a little bit easier for you. Make it a little clearer. Shift
Yeah,
some.
it's like all the lessons that you've learned distilled for people so that they can, because here's the thing, why we're doing this, and I just say we, even though it's not my course, but I just feel very much at the general we, it's just like as light workers, we create these things for the next round of light workers. And then you all light workers will create the next round and infinity, because we have to like the kind of like, okay, I'm just going to describe how I see it and what Jesus has described to me. It's like a really dark forest. And Natalie like ran through the dark forest and got all the lessons and tripped over all the things and defeated the owl and all the things and came through to the other side. And then Natalie decided to go back through the forest again, learn lessons on the way back. Oh, jumped over that hole this time, got her light and said, okay, everybody, let's come back through the forest, but I have a light for you. Because like I didn't have a light last time I went through the forest, and here's what happened. And now I'm going to give you light. Watch out for that hole. Da, 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 da. Because then when you get to the other side of the forest, whatever that is, you can do more and more and more and more. And if we just had everybody going through a dark forest, how would we evolve and grow as humanity? And that's what Natalie and I are here to do, is to help you elevate, evolve, grow. And so like, don't shy away that this is like a fast pass. You know, like don't think that like you have to go through the hard struggle to like become spiritual or to become enlightened or become awakened. Like, trust us. Once you get through this, there's going to be more for you to learn.
Oh yeah.
Your stuff is coming. Don't worry. But like, let's not have everybody have to like learn this part again and again and again. Right.
And that's why, I mean, I make it non-refundable for a reason. It's like, you have to be ready to show up and commit to yourself.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you accountable to the commitment that you made. Like, you have to show up, you have to be ready, you have to be willing, you have to want this, you have to want to be intuitive to take this course. And my guides keep asking me to call it like the only intuition course you'll ever need. Because I don't know that I've ever seen a course like this. Like, I've had courses that are like, let me teach you tarot, you know, and I've like worked with the records with a mentor, and Jesus, spent like $2,800 on that. But I don't know that I've ever seen a course like this that is like specifically designed to grow and unblock your intuition. So this fucking could be the only intuition course that you need.
Okay. So your guides are telling you that. Are you going to say that? Like, talk to me about like listening to that versus like, cause there's a little bit of that, like,
that sounds, I don't like, that makes me sound so pretentious. But yes, I'm going to start saying it. I've started saying it.
Yeah. It's kind of like the interpretation. It's like, you know, they give us these messages that sometimes feel like a little bit uncomfortable because it's a truth that is, this actually is the only course you'll need, you know? And, it's hard to be like so definitive in the spiritual work, but once you've done it, you just know, like, these are the things, you know, like, and that's why everybody says like meditation, right? Everybody's like, oh, I don't want to. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it's like, I don't want to use that phrase, like the one about the horse, but like, you know, like we need a more positive one instead of like hurting animals. But
I agree.
You're going to hear that. Like, it's going to be consistent again and again and again. Like, people, as you're seeking it, until you do meditation and learn to sit and do meditation, like, it's not going to go away, you know,
and
like
it's not hard. It just takes effort. Effort does not equal hard. You just have to like intentionally carve out time for it. That does not have to be hard. It's only hard if you want it to be.
And I think once you do that, the effects that you get are so fucking cool.
So cool.
That's why I'm still in it, because I was like, what else is here? Like, now I want to go up to the records and be like, who's here today?
Yeah, do it.
Who's hanging out?
Yeah.
And everybody's so nice and kind and loving, you guys. Like, I've never met a scary, bad, evil person. when I do positive intentions to go do work, never, never, never have I met a yucky, scary thing.
Yeah. It's all about intention. When you're intentionally connecting with those frequency, the scary things are not at that frequency.
Yeah. I've definitely seen them with other people, but not my own.
Yeah. So that's what Intuition Unblocked is about. If you're ready to like up level your career, up level your life, your relationships, like it really kind of bleeds into all of that when you start prioritizing this connection. So
Even just thinking like, cause I'm so in the spiritual world, but like, if you're not, and you're just like a salesperson or a mom, or you're, these other, wonderful things, like imagine being an intuitive mom, imagine being a more intuitive salesperson, right? Imagine being a more intuitive, whatever it is that you do, then you heighten your intuition. Like, whew.
Being an intuitive nurse, I'll tell you, since I started like
Ooh.
working on my gifts, I will walk into a patient's room and I will hear their diagnosis before they even start talking. And it's like, it's always right.
And then now he's like, I know. No.
So tell me about your back pain because it's a
Yeah.
kidney stone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But see, it's like you can cut to the chase and you can like have that internal knowing, and you can like listen more for those symptoms to confirm the kidney or whatever it is, right? Or
when
the
people are
sales
lying.
thing.
Yeah. Like when people are lying, you can always tell when you're more intuitively tapped in.
Yes. Yes. And like your kids being more intuitive, tapping into your kids, their wants, their needs, hearing what they're really having a tantrum about. Oof. Some juicy stuff.
Conscious parenting,
I always say that a lot to people. I'm like, you don't have to like open up, a crystal ball shop.
You don't.
But like this serves you in your life no matter what you do, I would say.
I think so. And I think especially in like a time of such polarity, you need to be able to figure out what's aligned for you versus what you're being fed.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're in like, you're so like confused and you don't know whatever, and it's like hard to just think, it's nice to have these tools and practices to get that higher self perspective that you already know, but it's like your ego or your subconscious things or your trauma is like making it hard for you to access. You can kind of go up a level. That's kind of how I see it. And it's always clear at 30,000 feet,
Yeah. So this course, it gives you those practices to like rise above the noise, see the higher perspective. And you don't always have to go in with like, okay, I want a message today. You can go in and be like, I just really need to feel loved today, or I just really need to feel supported. And like you ask for that support and then you're able to receive it.
Yeah.
And healing happens at that level. We talked about that in the episode with the aliens. Like you can go up and get healing. Fuck, you could.
Yeah. That's our next mug. It could happen.
It could happen.
No, but that's really true. That's really true. And I think about that too. Like if you learn how to be intuitive, if you learn it from your own sense of being, like you'll just have even different experiences. Like I remember like when I was learning tarot, I was like, I'm learning tarot, buy the book and this and that. And take the course and learn to memorize things. And then I remember I was in like a group with some tarot readers, and they're like, well, this is how I read tarot. And I was like, oh, what?
It's a different way.
I was like, I can make up my own way. I can intuit how I want to do a spread, read a card, pull a thing. And I was like, I fucking love it. And it made it so much more fun and invigorating to use because it's just like, it's like a paintbrush, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to, color in. And now you're like, well, now I can just create with stuff. So it's fun for that too. It gives you like access and it enhances your creativity into like just life in general. How do you want to access life?
Do you want it to be expansive? Do you want it to be limiting? The choice is yours.
And choose wisely.
Choose wisely. So yeah, there's more information. I'm going to talk about it this afternoon on a live. So it will be on my feed on Instagram. And early bird pricing, unfortunately, ended tonight. So if you're a part of my email list, you got the notifications for that. But I am hosting a giveaway today, the day that this episode goes out, Monday. So it should be on my feed. And you can enter the giveaway, and I'm going to be giving away like $100 off either the DIY or the VIP option. So enter the giveaway.
So generous. Yeah. Get yourself a little discount and go buy yourself some other fun stuff with $100 that you saved.
Right.
Go buy yourself some crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Call it in. Manifest it. I do that a lot. I'm like, I'm the winner. I'm the winner. But then I always have to say, but if it's not meant for me, it's okay.
It's fine. I'll be fine.
I'll be fine. Well, I'm excited. So your live will be on Monday.
My live is today, but it will be on my feed tomorrow. You'll be able to see it. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I'll tune in. this
Thanks,
afternoon with my
Jess.
tea. Yes. It's always nice to like see your friends on there, you know?
It's really nice to see my friends pop up, and my wife, she'll join, and that just feels so good.
My husband will join from the other room too. It's so funny. I'm like, oh, yay.
Same. Okay, well, I guess that's all. Any final thoughts about intuition, or do you think we kind of covered it, put it all out there?
I think we did, but
Okay.
it's such an amazing thing to be in touch with. And I just highly recommend that you get to know your intuition, get to know that what skill? No.
It's just a connection. It's a
Connection.
frequency.
I like
Yeah, it's a
that.
connection.
Oh, a frequency. I like that.
Yeah, get to know it. It's here for you. You can use it. Like riding a bike. You just have to be taught how.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can soar.
Exactly.
And that's what we want. We want you guys to soar because we got a lot of work to do as light workers here. So we got to get more people opened, awakened into their power and gifts. That's what we want in this world.
Yes. Yes. Okay. With that, thank you for tuning in for About Intuition. Email us, tell us about your intuitive hits and gifts. We'd love to talk about it. And then next week, we are going to be talking about health and disease. I feel like it's big. And then the next week, we're going to talk about like body image and weight and food and all of that. Very Virgo season stuff.
I am a Virgo rising, and all my charts are like, time for a refresh, time for a restart. And I'm like, girl, I feel it.
Well, I'm a Virgo sympathizer.
Oh my God. I feel like that's a whole group of people. Like, do you know a Virgo? Come with us.
We can walk you through it.
We're unique. That's a unique energy. I love it though.
I really like it.
Oh, and I learned so much about Virgo and Virgin and what that actually means. And we're going to talk about that. Yes.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about it and health and stuff and how to see it from like a higher perspective. I really want to talk. I'm excited to talk about this because like, oh, it's just so juicy. There's always a root cause. Like a physical manifestation is exactly that. It's a manifestation of something else going on.
Yes.
It always gives you something. So we're going to talk about it. Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.